Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing great. So anyways, about a month ago I've uploaded the ultimate guide to yoga for feminine energy. And now I wanted to bring you the ultimate guide to yoga for empowerment, which is pretty much gonna have the totally opposite energy. So the yoga for feminine energy was more calm, it was working with the elements of earth and water. It was working with the hips and the sacral chakra. Now we're gonna bring a little bit more oomph into the practice. We're gonna work with the elements of fire and air. We're gonna bring a lot more energy and a lot of strength focus in this ultimate guide to yoga for empowerment. So now I guess you have both sides of the coin. You have the yin and the yang. You have the water and the fire. So you pretty much have the ultimate complete guide to kind of building a more relaxing or more strength focused practice. And it's good if you do a little bit of both every now and then. So yeah, anyways, without further ado, let's get into my top 3 techniques again, but this time for yoga for empowerment. So here's a brief overview of what we're going to go through. We're going to go through energizing yoga postures and practices, techniques, etc. Then we're gonna go through how you can bring the focus of the solar plexus chakra into your practice. And then lastly is gonna be the focus on the elements of fire and air. So yeah, first technique would be energizing yoga. And first I want to talk about something that is a little bit more niche in the yoga world that not so many yoga teachers talk about because it's a little bit of not so much of a commercial yoga type, which is Kundalini yoga. So Kundalini yoga specifically targets that energy channel that goes up through your spine, and it mixes meditation techniques with breathing techniques with certain movements to make this energy channel flow. These exercises are actually called kriyas. So like I've seen kriyas for self-love, you can have kriyas for different chakras, for better sight, I think I've seen some. So there's just a lot of different kind of focuses that you can have in these kriyas. There's pretty much a kriya for anything. And so of course there's going to be kriyas for energy. And a great one for this would be the life nerve stretch. This is the kind of name that they give it, which is pretty much a sciatic nerve stretch. So your sciatic nerve is a super important nerve. The tight sciatic nerve can lead to kind of back pain and a lot of different complications. A lot of people have very tight sciatic nerves, so just stretching it is really good for you. Right, so how do you do this life nerve stretch? Well, you take your legs out in front of you, you grab something the size of your feet or your big toes, and you just stay there for a few minutes. As you inhale, I like to think of my chest lifting up more, and as I exhale, you just kind of melt deeper into the posture and allow kind of your body to melt into that space that you've created through the inhalation. So these are very small, subtle movements, but it's just something to keep your mind kind of focused on the posture while you're in a static posture for a really long time. You can also do this with the legs apart, and you just grab onto your big toes, inhale in the center, exhale over to one side, inhale back to center, exhale over on the other side. Right, so the breathing can be a very energizing tool, as I've kind of tried hinting at with this kriya. And so another thing you can do for energizing is the sun salutations, right? So it's in the name. It's a great thing to practice in the morning, and it's just a great way for you to connect with your body, with your breathing, which is always there with you, but we're rarely conscious of it. So just bringing that kind of focus into it is also part of your meditation, of your mindfulness practice. And the sun salutations are generally great because they're super quick. There's different variations that you can take, and they help you work on your strength and flexibility at the same time, which is great. So let's move on to yoga for the solar plexus, which is gonna be the chakra that is pretty much involved in anything that has to do with willpower, with strength, anything that has that kind of powerful feeling. The yoga postures that have been generally associated with the solar plexus chakra are core yoga postures. So anything that has to do with you working your core, like planks and side planks, boat pose, so any classic core exercises like that are going to be really great for your navel area. Core yoga, that I think that is a pretty common class in a lot of yoga studios, or at least a core focused practice where you just kind of bring some awareness to that part of your body. Things like balancing postures and arm balances are also great for the core. You can also work the back of the core. So the back side of your body is also part of your core, right? So you can work with things like locust pose and cobra pose, which is also gonna kind of work with this midsection of your body. Some active twists are also a great idea for working with your solar plexus. Great, so let's move on to technique number 3. The last one is how you can bring the elements of nature into your practice. So more classically powerful and even perhaps leaning towards masculine elements are the fire element and the earth element. So more feminine and more relaxing would be the earth and the water element. So now with the fire element, one thing that is really important is building tapas in the body. Tapas, not the Spanish food, but the yoga kind of technique. So tapas in yoga is that internal fire that you can build. For example, if you hold a warrior 2 for very long, then your thigh is going to start to burn. So you can bring that concept in and do a kind of, hatha yoga practice where you hold the postures for longer to build that kind of fire, to, tire your muscles a little bit, to give yourself a little bit of a challenge. And you can do things like, you move from a warrior 1 into a warrior 2. Then you stay in high lunge and you work on different things like twists or, pumping with the leg. And then you can go into a balancing posture like warrior 3, and it's just really loading up that front leg, which is going to build tapas. And you can of course apply this kind of concept and idea with different parts of your body, like your core. If you do a lot of core exercises over and over and over, and you kind of apply the principles that I talked about previously for the solar plexus, well, that already has an element of fire, right? Because your core eventually is going to start to burn, and this is great for building tapas. So you can see how these are kind of interconnected. Let's not forget about the breath, as I've mentioned, is very important. So for the element of fire, a great breathing exercise would be breath of fire, which is Kapalbhati breathing, snapping the belly in and out. Or rather just snapping the belly in, right, as you exhale. Don't focus on the inhales. Now, air yoga, as I see it, is a little bit more active, right? So think of the qualities of a fire, it's steady, it burns, it's very powerful, but it is steady and it moves slowly. Whereas wind can be quite more erratic, there's more movement in there, a little bit more energy, so you can do things like a vinyasa practice. So just moving kind of with the breath. The breath is of course just by itself connected to the element of air. One breathing exercise you could try is just breathing in for 6 counts, breathing out for 6 counts. But anyways, try to keep it playful, try to move with your breath, so a kind of playful vinyasa. And you could also work on some arm balances. Those are also really great. Things like crow pose or side crow. And even things like headstand and other inversions can also be very much connected to the element of air. And this has kind of the potential to become a more intermediate or advanced yoga practice, right? Because we combine things like arm balances with fast movements. The air element can be a little bit more active, so this is perhaps bringing in some of those more advanced yoga postures and techniques. So yeah, this is my ultimate guide to yoga for empowerment, for power, for energy. So now you have the complete ultimate guide to kind of yin and yang yoga. Just a quick reminder that if you're not sure how to incorporate these in your yoga practice, or if you're starting out, a great idea would be to be led by a teacher, right? And I've started my Patreon where I upload classes weekly, and the subscription is, €5, the equivalent of a cup of coffee, or rather $5. But anyway, so if you're not sure how to really create a class out of these tips, don't worry, I've got you covered. So please check out my Patreon. I will link it in the description. And as always, if you have any more suggestions or requests for yoga techniques, or any other things, right? So I also do content on natural self-care, wellness, meditation, nutrition. So anything that kind of has to do with wellness, I cover on my channel, on my TikTok, and on my Instagram. So please let me know if you have any requests for things that you would like me to talk about. And otherwise, I hope to see as many of you subscribe to my Patreon, building kind of healthy habits and a healthy lifestyle. So, yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Namaste.